When God anoints someone, he doesn't do it for vanity, status, or personal gain. He anoints you for a divine purpose, a purpose that shakes the very foundation of deception, manipulation, and spiritual oppression. If you've been chosen and anointed by God, you become a threat to the forces of darkness. And one of the most deceptive forces in this world, the spirit of narcissism, this spirit is not merely a personality disorder, it is a weapon the enemy uses to distort reality, deceive hearts, and enslave minds. Narcissists live in a world of delusions, believing they are superior, entitled, and beyond correction. They crave admiration, seek to control others, and twist the truth to serve their own egos. But when you walk in God's anointing, you become a force that destroys their illusions. You carry the light of truth, which exposes their lies. You possess divine wisdom, which dismantles them, and appellations. You stand in righteousness, which nullifies their control. If you've ever felt like your presence alone agitates certain people, if you've noticed that those who thrive on deception despise you, if you've been relentlessly attacked for simply standing in your calling, then this message is for you. Because these are signs that God has dangerously anointed you to crush the narcissist delusion. Let's uncover these 5 signs and see if God has set you apart for this battle. Sign 1. You expose the narcissist's true nature. When God anoints you, you do not merely receive a calling, you become a living embodiment of His truth, a beacon of divine discernment that disrupts deception. It is very cool. A narcissist thrives in deception, weaving a false reality where they are both exalted and untouchable. Their power is not in actual strength or wisdom, but in the careful crafting of illusion, a performance designed to manipulate the minds of those around them. They rewrite history, twist narratives, and control perception so skillfully that many never see through the veil, but you were anointed to see. Through the facade, a narcissist's greatest fear is exposure, because exposure shatters the false world they have built. They feed off admiration, constructing an identity that demands worship, convincing those around them that they are superior, more intelligent, more virtuous, more deserving of honor than anyone else. That control lies not in physical strength, but in their ability to manipulate reality itself, making others question their own memories, doubt their own worth, and surrender their will to the narcissist's manufactured version of truth. But when you are dangerously anointed, you cannot be deceived. The Spirit of God within you is too powerful, too radiant, too all-consuming for any light to take root. You do not see the narcissist as they present themselves. You see who they really are, and that terrifies them. The very presence of an anointed person unsettles and narcissists, not because of anything outwardly aggressive, but because their mask cracks in the light of truth. You don't need to accuse them outright. Your mere existence is an offense. While others may be mesmerized by their charisma or ensnared by their deceit, you stand unshaken. You recognize the calculated charm, the false humility, the manipulative kindness meant to trap people in emotional. That you notice the small contradictions, the inconsistency is the exaggerated tales they tell to glorify themselves. You hear the way they speak of others with hidden contempt, how their words are less, laced with quiet arrogance, how their need for control bleed through every interaction. And make no mistake, they recognize this about you. They know that you see them, that you are immune to their lies, and for that they despise you. Is why Jesus was hated by the religious leaders of his time, the Pharisees, the masters of public perception, the self-appointed gatekeepers of righteousness, were nothing more than religious narcissists. Hiding behind a cloak of holiness, they sought to be worshipped, to be seen as righteous, to be above correction. But Jesus in his anointed saw beyond their piety and into their hearts. He called them whitewashed tombs, beautifully adorned on the outside, but filled with corrupt sin and death on the inside. His truth exposed them, and rather than repent, they conspired to destroy him. A narcissist would rather silence you than be unmasked. And that is why they attack you. It is not because you have wronged them. It is not because you are difficult. It is because you are dangerous to their kingdom of lies. Have you ever noticed how they try to discredit you, how they attempt to make you look foolish, unstable, or rebellious, how they twist your words, distort your intentions, and paint you as the villain? They do this because they cannot afford for others to see what you see. They know that once the illusion is shattered, their power will collapse, for nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known and brought to light. Luke 8:17. If you have ever been targeted, slandered, or falsely accused by someone who thrives in December, and consider it confirmation of your anointed. Your spiritual discernment is not a burden. It is a weapon, a divine gift that exposes darkness and disrupts the plans of the enemy. And though the battle may be fierce, remember this: a lie can only stand in darkness, but truth endures forever. Keep standing, keep seeing, keep walking in the anointed that God has placed upon you. Because you were never meant to bow before deception, you were meant to crush it. Signed to you are dangerously anointed and immune to the narcissist emotional manipulation. There is nothing more infuriating to a narcissist than a person who cannot be controlled, a person whose emotions are not at their mercy, a person who refuses to bow under the weight of their psychological warfare. And when God anoints you, he does not just give you discernment to see through deception. He gives you the strength to stand unmoved in the midst of it. You are dangerously anointed because you cannot be manipulated. A narcissist operates like a master puppeteer, pulling invisible strings to control the emotional state of those around them. They use guilt to bind, fear to paralyze, and praise to seduce. Their words are not innocent. They are calculated weapons designed to provoke a response, whether it be anger, self-doubt, or desperation for approval. They want to keep you in a constant state of emotional instability, because as long as you are reacting, they are controlling you. But when God has anointed you, you become a disruption to their entire system of control. You are no longer vulnerable to their manipulative tactics. You recognize the game, and you refuse to play. When they try to guilt trip you, you stand firm in the truth. When they try to provoke you into anger, you remain at peace. When they try to make you question your reality, you trust in what God has shown you. Your emotional stability, your divine immunity to them, and appeal Asian drives them into frustration and rage. You are not just resisting them, you are dismantling their power. Look at the example of Samuel and Saul. Saul was a narcissistic king obsessed with control, image, and public approval. He disobeyed God, yet expected Samuel to continue honoring him before the people. When Samuel confronted him, Saul played the victim, pleading and begging for sympathy, hoping to manipulate Samuel into standing by his side. But Samuel, dangerously anointed, was unmoved. He saw through Saul's act and spoke the hard truth. The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you this day, and has given it to a neighbor of yours who is better than you. Samuel 26:10-28. Samuel refused to be manipulated by Saul's emotions. He understood that anointed comes with responsibility and no amount of tears, pleading, or self-pity could change God's judgment. And because of this, soul hated him. When you walk in divine anointing, you must understand that narcissists will resent you simply because you refuse to bend under their control. Have you ever noticed how a narcissist reacts when their usual tactics no longer work on you? They escalate. 8. First, a guilt trip, making you feel like you are abandoning them, like you are cruel for standing your ground. When that fails, they shift to anger, attempting to intimidate you into compliance. When that fails, they turn to slander, trying to destroy your reputation so that others won't live. And to you. And when that fails, they begin to self-destruct. Because without control, they are nothing. This is why you are dangerous. Your anointed breaks the cycle of control. Your ability to stand firm, to remain emotionally unshaken, to walk in wisdom rather than reaction. It strips the narcissist of their power. They cannot function in an environment where their manipulation is useless. They cannot control someone whose identity is rooted in God, not in human validation. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. So if you find yourself in situations where narcissists become increasingly desperate, aggressive, or irrational around you, understand this. It is because they realize they have lost their grip over you. And that is proof of your annoying thing. You are not just resisting manipulation, you are dismantling the very foundation on which their false power stands. Keep standing, keep walking in the authority God has given you, because no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and no lie spoken against you shall prevail, because this is confirmation that you are anointed. And if you have already broken free from their influence, if you have learned to stand firm in your God-given identity, then declare it boldly. I am dangerously anointed. Drop those words in the comments. If you know God has set you apart, let the enemy know his control over you is broken. Sign 3. You are dangerously anointed because you do not react the way the narcissist expects. A narcissist thrives on control, not just over circumstances, but over people's emotions. That sense of power does not come from genuine and strength or divine authority. It comes from their ability to provoke, manipulate, and dictate how others respond to them. Their greatest deception is convincing people that if they can make you react, they own you. Their words are crafted like hooks, the accusations like snares, their conflicts like storms, designed to pull you into a whirlwind of emotional turmoil. But when you are dangerously anointed, you disrupt this entire system. You do not react the way they expect. When a narcissist confronts you, they expect you to engage. They expect you to fight, to justify yourself, to explain your innocence, to beg for their approval. They expect you to be thrown into chaos, because chaos is where they reign. But when God anoints you, something shifts. You are no longer governed by human emotion. You are governed by divine wisdom. You no longer respond to manipulation. You walk in spiritual clarity. You do not allow their accusations to dictate your peace, because your peace comes from the one who cannot be shaken. This is why your annoying thing is dangerous. A narcissist power exists only in reaction. They provoke to dominate, to control, to keep you emotionally entangled in their deception. But when you refuse to react, you strip them of their influence over you. You become an anomaly in their world, a disruption to their false sense of superiority. They no longer know how to deal with you because their tactics no longer work. Look at how Jesus handled his accusers. The Pharisees, the religious narcissists of his time, constantly sought to entrap him. They brought trick questions, hoping to provoke him into a debate. where they could twist his words. They accused him, falsely expecting him to defend himself, to react in anger or desperation. They wanted to control the narrative, but Jesus refused to be pulled into their schemes. But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. Matthew 27:14. Jesus' silence confounded them. His refusal to engage disarmed them. Entire strategy. He did not need to prove himself, because he knew who he was. He understood a critical truth that an anointed person must grasp. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. To a narcissist, stillness his power, silence is power. Restraint his power because it reveals that they have no hold over you anymore. Have you ever noticed what happens when a narcissist fails to provoke you? They escalate first. They will attack harder, throwing harsher words, hoping to break you. When that fails, they will play the victim, trying to guilt trip you back into their control. When that fails, they will slander you, telling others you are cold, selfish, or difficult, because they can't handle the fact that you have removed yourself from them. An appellation. Their desperation is proof of your deliverance. King David understood this well in chapter 7 of 16, as he fled from his son's rebellion. A man named Shimei hurled curses and stones at him. David's men were ready to kill Shimei on the spot, but David refused to react. He knew that his kingdom was not in the hands of men, it was in the hands of God. He understood that some battles do not require your response, they require your silence. This is what makes you dangerously anointed. The enemy does not know what to do with a person who refuses to fight the wrong battles. When a narcissist attacks you and you stand firm in peace, they lose control. They see that they can no longer manipulate your emotions, dictate your reactions, or force you into submission. They realize that their power over you has crumbled. And this is why they despise you, because you, without even speaking a word, have dismantled the throne they built on lies. Sign for you are dangerously anointed, because you no longer seek approval from people. A narcissist world is built upon a fragile foundation, the constant need for validation. They are driven by an insatiable hunger for admiration, a relentless craving for recognition, and an unquenchable thirst to be exalted above others. They manipulate, deceive, and control, not for the sake of truth, but for the illusion of superiority. Their sense of worth is not rooted in who they are, but in how others perceive them. They need to be praised, worshipped, and feared, because deep down they know that without the applause of men, they are nothing. But when you are dangerously anointed, you break free from this system of validation. You are no longer controlled by the opinions of man. You do not need their approval, their recognition, or their acceptance, because your identity is rooted in God alone. And nothing is more threatening to a narcissist than a person who is completely untethered from the need to be liked, validated, or affirmed by others. The moment you stop seeking their approval, you become uncontrollable. You no longer dance to their tune, no longer bend under their expectations, no longer strive to fit into the mold they have created for you. They cannot manipulate someone who does not need them. This is why narcissists hate those who walk in divine confidence, because a truly anointed person does not look to man for approval, but to God. This is what made Daniel so dangerous to the kingdom of Babylon. He was surrounded by men who are obsessed with status, power, and royal favor. The officials around him schemed, manipulated, and flattered their way to positions of influence. But Daniel, he did not bow. He did not seek the king's approval. Nor did he live to please the court. His allegiance was to God alone, and when a decree was passed forbidding prayer to anyone, but the king Daniel did not waver. He did not try to please the rulers, did not seek compromise, did not shrink back in fear. Instead, he went to his room, opened his windows, and prayed, just as he had always done. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room, where the windows opened toward Jerusalem. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God, just as he had done before. Daniel 6:10. Daniel's refusal to seek approval infuriated his enemies. They could not control him, they could not manipulate him into compliance, and because of that they plotted to destroy him. This is exactly what happens when you are dangerously anointed. The moment you stop needing a narcissist's validation, they will turn against you. At first, they may try to win you back, luring you with false kindness, flattery, or guilt. But when they realize you are unmoved, they will attack you, slander you, and attempt to isolate you. They will call you arrogant. They will say you have changed. They will try to make others turn against you. Because the truth is they never loved you, they only loved the control they had over you. A narcissist thrives on keeping you dependent on their opinion. If they can make you feel that their validation is necessary for your worth, they will own you. But the moment you recognize that your worth is already determined by God, their power is broken. That is why they fear you. Look at the life of Jesus. He walked the earth completely free from the opinions of man. He did not seek the approval of the Pharisees. He did not adjust his message to gain followers. He did not soften his words to be more palatable. And because of this, he was hated. The religious leaders could not understand him because they were consumed by the need for human recognition. And yet he walked in divine authority without it. I do not accept glory from human beings. John 5:41. A narcissist wants to be your God. They want to be the one who defines your worth, dictates your choices, and controls how you see yourself. But when you are dangerously anointed, you live under the revelation that there is only one whose opinion matters, and it is not them. So if you have ever felt the sting of rejection, if you have ever been cast out by those who once praised you, if people have suddenly turned against you the moment you stopped seeking their approval, understand this. It is confirmation of your annoying thing. It means you have been set apart. It means you have broken free. And most importantly, it means you are no longer bound by the opinions of men. You are walking in the full authority of God. Sign 5. You are dangerously anointed to tear down the systems of deception. When God anoints someone, he does not merely give them strength for personal battles. He anoints them to destroy the very foundations of deception. Your anointing is not just about surviving attacks from narcissists. It is about dismantling the systems that allow them to thrive. This is why you are not only hated by individuals, you are hated by entire structures of manipulation, corruption, and control. And narcissist is never alone in their deception. They build systems around themselves, alliances as webs of influence, and false narratives to protect them from exposure. Their power is not in their own strength, but in their ability to manipulate an entire environment to work in their favor. They distort reality so thoroughly that their victims become trapped, their supporters become blind, and the truth becomes buried beneath layers of carefully constructed lies. But then you show up dangerously anointed, carrying the fire of truth, immune to them, an appeal agent, and suddenly their entire kingdom is under threat. This is Why they try so hard to discredit you, isolate you, or destroy your reputation. You are not just a person who sees through their deception, you are a force that has the power to bring it down. You do not just expose an individual narcissist, you expose the entire system that protects them. You are like a wrecking ball in a house built on lies. Your very existence demands accountability. Your discernment is a threat to their survival. Look at the story of Elijah and the prophets of Baal. The prophets of Baal were not just individuals with false beliefs. They represented an entire system of deception that had led God's people into idolatry. The people have been manipulated into serving